was Catholic theologian Richard Rohr who said, all spiritual disciplines have one purpose: to get rid of illusions so we can be present. These disciplines exist so that we can see what is, see who we are, and see what is happening. And this is the heart of this 4-step process of spiritual growth and enlightenment that I've been trying to lead you through these past 3 weeks. To get rid of illusions, we have to be willing to see that human culture is in a mass hypnotic trance, as Rohr puts it. Then become aware that there is something more going on beneath the surface of this trance. The next step is to recognize or to see that, as Rohr says, what is love. What is love. It is God who is love, giving away God in every moment as the reality of our life. What is love, he says. It is God who is love, giving away God every moment as the reality of our life. When we can see that love is the only thing that is real, we realize, as Rohr says, who we are is love. Because we are created in God's image. What is happening is God living in us, with us, and through us as love. And this jubilance brings us to the final step of our 4-step WARE process of willingness, awareness, recognition, and embodiment, the E. Embodiment, that's what we're going to talk about today. When we know that God lives in us, with us, and through us, then we become that love in the world. It's not a one-and-done process, though, since we still live in this illusion. We're not going to do any of these steps perfectly. Sometimes we won't be willing to see the world differently. Sometimes the ego trips us up, and the last thing we are able to do is embody love towards some recalcitrant who pisses us off. But the good news is that once you have been willing and aware and have recognized your higher divine self, even if it was just for a short moment, you can never truly go back to the obstreperous world of the ego. Once you know the purpose of your life is to get rid of illusions and be present, then you'll want to pursue that path more often than not. And you'll recover quickly from your missteps, and that will make you say, oh yeah. Growing up in the Southern Baptist Church, I was taught that my body was where evil lives. I was told that I had been born with something called original sin. Original sin. Which means that the very depths of my soul had been tainted by the sin of Adam. I was also taught that this body is not really my home, and I can't return to my true home, to God, until I shed this awful, evil thing. Paradoxically, I was also taught that in the time of the resurrection, I will need this body, which is why the strain of Southern Baptists I come from are forbidden from being cremated after death, because you're going to need this evil shell in the resurrection. But I digress. It made sense to me. Because of all of that, I've had this awkward body. Yes, I have had this awkward body and an awkward relationship with this body for most of my life. It's always felt sort of like an ill-fitting suit. I've never been known for either my flexibility or my grace in this embodiment. However, I have learned that my religious tradition was kind of on the right track with how they read the Bible's origin story. We are all indeed products of Adam's quote-unquote sin. But it wasn't his mistake of dining on the fruit of the tree of knowledge as much as it was falling into the slumber of ignorance. You see, A Course in Miracles points out that while the Bible tells us that God put Adam to sleep, it never says Adam woke up. We're still in this dream. And while in this slumber, Adam dreams that another being springs from himself, and thus the belief in bodies and separation of those bodies came into being within the dream. Jubilants, we're all still in Adam's dream. We're still believing that bodies spring from ours and then they're separate from us. So this does not mean that the body is evil or should be debased or disregarded. Instead, it means that the body is one of our most valuable tools because it is how the Holy can communicate with us and ultimately awaken us by learning the truth about ourselves, that we are the light of the world. And what that really just means is that you are enough because you're all holy. So according to our reading from A Course this morning, the beautiful, wow, I can't speak this morning. The body is beautiful or ugly, it says, peaceful or savage, helpful or harmful, loving or recalcitrant. Yeah, we just add that in. According to the use to which we put it. And in the body of another, you will see the use to which you have put yours. Our belief in the separation means that we often view the bodies around us with suspicion at best and attack at worst. It doesn't mean we physically attack others, though sometimes that happens, but it does mean we attack others with our thoughts, gossiping about them, wishing bad things for others, even being jealous of somebody else's apparent success in the world. But here is the key, according to A Course. Whatever it is we believe about our bodies, we will become the embodiment of those beliefs. If the body, A Course says, becomes a means for you to give to the Holy Spirit to use on behalf of union of the sonship, which is just all of us, you will not see anything physical except as what it is. Use it for truth, use your body for truth, and you will see it truly. Misuse it, and you will misunderstand it, because you have already done so by misusing it. So using our body for truth simply means this. We have to become willing for the Holy to guide us, which will help us become aware of God's presence in, through, and around us in every moment of life. And this awareness then becomes a recognition of that higher divine self, a moment when head knowledge becomes heart knowing, and we no longer question the truth about ourselves, that God is living as each of us. And when that happens, then we can't help but become the embodiment of that love and that light that has ultimately created us. And of course, we can certainly resist becoming that, which is what the ego is constantly trying to convince us to do. The ego tells us that all this willingness, awareness, recognition, blah, 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 just a bunch of woo-hoo hogwash, just meant to distract you from what it sees as our real goal in this world, to use our body to chase joy and happiness in whatever it is we desire out here in the world, whether it is money or fame or power or romance, or even just to be left alone. I mean, some people just want that. You don't want any of the worldly stuff. You just want to be left alone. But you're using your body wrongly. In this state, as Jesus says, your life becomes consumed with defending the things you have from thieves. Once you get all the things, then you have to defend all the things. Once you let go of all the things, then you have to defend things coming at you. It's all about defense. Something's going to take something away. However, if what you treasure is in heaven, as Jesus says, it can't be taken from you. Now remember, heaven isn't a place. It's not some place with pearly gates and streets of gold. It's a state of mind. And you can choose whether you're there or not. By seeking a state of happiness outside of ourselves, we're all about creating our own hell. This is a place where bodies attack others, and we have to defend what we think is ours against those who might take it from us. When we know, though, that the only treasure worth having is the recognition and knowing of our higher divine self that brings us that peace that passes all understanding, then we can be about creating heaven for ourselves and for everyone right here, right now. We will use our bodies rightly because we understand that our bodies house our divinity, not just ours, but everybody's. And when we know that, then we know that we are enough, that the Holy is living through us. And then we want to become that embodiment of that holy higher love in the world. So the question you got to answer this morning, Jubilants, where is your treasure? Because if it's out here, you'll embody that, the values of the world. But if it's in here, then you will embody God's love. Breathe deeply. My religious tradition was right about one thing when it said this body was not my home. And ultimately, it's not. When we do finally awaken from Adam's dream, we don't need bodies anymore. But unlike my tradition, which viewed the body as evil, of course, Jesus and even Buddhist monk Pema Chodron invites us to see our bodies as a valuable tool, something that can help us awaken from this dream of separation, if we're willing to become the embodiment of love. It's okay, baby, it'll be over soon. It's all right. Our bodies can help us attain this state of what the Buddhists call bodhicitta. Chodron says that citta means mind, which is also heart or attitude, and bodhi means awake, enlightened, or completely open. Sometimes, Chodron says, the completely open heart and mind of bodhicitta is called the soft spot, a place as vulnerable and tender as an open wound. It is equated in part, she says, with our ability to love. Even the cruelest person has this soft spot. Even the most vicious animals love their offspring. As Chogram Trungpa Rinpoche put it, everybody loves something, even if it's only tortillas. So, jubilants, we embody what we treasure. If we treasure tortillas, perhaps we open the best tortilla food truck in the whole wide world. But if we treasure love, or peace, or joy, then we have the opportunity to be the embodiment of that in the world. Willingness and awareness are key steps in this path to embodiment because we spend a lot of our time unconsciously embodying the beliefs of this illusory world. We embody competition. We embody greed. We embody fear. We embody lack, or the restless pursuit of something outside of ourselves to make us feel safe, to make us feel secure and free. But when we're willing to see a different world and become aware of the true peace, love, joy, and abundance that the Holy is offering us all the time, then we begin to recognize the lies and the tricks of the ego. And we begin to recognize more and more that our higher divine self has been with us all along. Jubilants, you are the light of the world. And what that means is you are already enough. You have no need to pursue what the world calls success. You don't have to wring out your body in pursuit of the world's approval or its wealth or its power. You don't have to defend it against others that you perceive as thieves that might take your possessions or kill your spirit or anything that you think is important to your joy. So think about it. Whenever we say we want things out in this world, whether it's possessions or power or prestige, all we're really saying is that we all want the same thing. I don't care what your politics or whatever is. We all want the same thing, right? We want love. We want peace. We want joy. We want safety and freedom and abundance. But the ego convinces us that all those things can only be found out here, outside of ourselves. And to get them, you have to use your body for attack, to climb the ladder, to move everybody out of the way, so you can get there and get yours before somebody else does and everything is gone. Because there's lack, there's not enough. When we recognize, though, and we know without a doubt that everything we will ever need is already within us, our next step is just to choose to embody all of that love, all that peace, all that joy, all that happiness that we have already. It's there. And this is where we begin to create that heaven that Jesus talks about. When our treasures of love and peace and joy become apparent within ourselves, how we live and move and have our being in this world can't help but fundamentally change. In this moment, we realize we truly lack for nothing. And because of that, we can love wastefully. We can give to others without fear of ever running out of that infinite source of love and peace and joy. We know without a doubt, as Richard Rohr has said, our life becomes all about God living in us, with us, and through us as love. And then somebody cuts you off in traffic. All that peace, love, joy, gone in an instant. Or somebody dares to confront you about your political views or dares to be wrong on Facebook. And we lose our peace. We lose our joy. We lose our love. We're slammed right back into this ego body. And that is where children offers us a bit of good news. She says even if we are in that situation, we never lose our connection to the holy. When Adam's dream becomes a nightmare, we are not separate from enlightenment. Even at the times we feel most stuck, Children says, we are never alienated from the awakened state. That's a revolutionary assertion, she says. Even ordinary people like us with hang-ups and confusion have this mind of enlightenment. We all have that bodhicitta. The openness and warmth of bodhicitta, she says, is in fact our true nature and condition. It's the same thing the Course says. We're all innocent. That's our true nature. And when we're willing to be open and aware of those moments of choice between where our treasure lies, in the ego's hell or the spirit's heaven, and we recognize the voice for God that calls us to choose our heavenly infinite treasures of peace and love and joy, then we become all those things we welcome. We extend love into the world. So the first step is to remember that our bodies are valuable because they provide a direct link for us between the Holy Spirit and God. And that divinity is within us, divinity created us. And that means that even though we will appear to be in these separate bodies, we all remain in that unified field of love with one another and our Creator. Jubilants, we have not left home. We have simply fallen asleep and dreamed ourselves into another world. So to awaken, we have to recognize that what we become, what we receive is what we become. What makes homes in our heart is really what we're going to embody in the world, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So I invite you this week to deeply consider where your treasure lies. Is it in the things and trappings of this world that give us a false sense of security or freedom? Or is it in heaven, that higher divine place within every single one of us that offers us the infinite treasures of love and peace and joy and safety that the world can never take away? Oh yeah.